Hello everybody and welcome to today's video. Today's video is going to be Chiron and how to heal your Chiron placement. And if you don't know who I am Haley Delgado, otherwise known as Moon Girl, otherwise known as at my Moon Girl readings across all platforms, Tumblr, YouTube, Instagram. If you are new, welcome to the gang. If you are a returner OG, lovely to see you. I hope that you guys enjoyed today's video. I am putting everything that I know about Chiron in this video. And if you would like even more information on asteroids like this one, I have in the description box my ebook. It's basically a textbook, 70 asteroids. 70 asteroids, and that's house descriptions, sign descriptions, and that'll be linked down below. And other than that, the only thing that I will need from you today before we go ahead and get started is to look up your Chiron placement. Now, there's many ways to do this, but Chiron is typically included in most of the websites, so you can go to Astro Theme, you can go to astro.com, you can go to even type in Chiron calculator and it will help you to find your Chiron placement. Once you enter your birth information and you find your Chiron placement, you're going to want to look for your Chiron placement sign. And for my intermediate and advanced astrology lovers that are watching, you can also look at the degree and apply the degree theory. If you don't know anything about degrees or what signs go with what degrees and you want to learn, I also have my first ebook in the description box that has all 29 degrees and what they mean and what they are connected to. So I would look up the degree and then the house that your Chiron is in as well. You can also apply this and anything that is aspecting your Chiron. So for example, let's say that your Chiron is in Libra at the 26th degree. It is in the 10th house and it is aspecting Saturn. So even though you are a Libra Chiron, you would be an honorary Taurus Chiron with the Taurus degree. You would be an honorary Capricorn Chiron with it in the 10th house. And then with Chiron aspecting Saturn, your Chiron naturally has a Saturnian flair to it. So it is a little bit more of a honorary Aquarius or Capricorn Chiron. So there's many layers. And so you can also watch for those different signs based off of the aspects, based off of the degree, based off of the house. So now that we got that out of the way, today's breakdown of today's video, what we're going to be doing is we are going to be explaining the mythology of Chiron. So Chiron's origin story, really give a background to who this is. And then we're going to be defining what Chiron's role is in your astrology chart, in astrology. And then we're going to go into how to heal each Chiron sign by looking at the high and low expressions of Chiron. And at the end of each Chiron video, I am going to be pulling just one card of something that is going to be key in your healing, which, no pun intended, Chiron is associated with the key as its symbol. Other than that, I hope that you guys sit back, enjoy, you guys learn something about yourself, you guys laugh, or even just relate. If you guys do, please let me know in the comments, and please comment a key emoji so I know you're a real one. Feel free to subscribe while you're here. It is free, absolutely free, and if you subscribe, you won't miss out on any other magic like this video. So thank you guys for supporting. Let's go ahead and just get started. So amazing. Let's start with the mythology of Chiron. So what is Chiron's origin story, right? So this is the beginning of Chiron's story. Chiron actually was born out of tragedy, and in mythology, he has one of the more tragic birth stories, essentially, without getting too deep into it. his mother and his father, after he was born, neither one of them wanted him. Essentially, his father had, without consent, impregnated his mother, and neither parent wanted Chiron. So Chiron actually fell into the wings of Apollo, otherwise known as the sun god, and in ancient Egypt known as Ra, right? And Apollo was a jack of many, many trades, right? And so Chiron having this mentor, he became a jack of many trades, and he became known as the trainee, right? So Apollo and Chiron are related in astrology. I love working with these two together. If you are intermediate, advanced, and you're interested in what kind of could coach our Chiron, and you kind of understand that, I would look up your Apollo asteroid. I believe it's 1862 in astro.com. I could be wrong, but all the info in that is also in my asteroid book if you're curious. Now, Chiron, even though he was born from tragedy, he did not have a chip on his shoulder. Chiron went on to, again, become a jack of all trades, and he went on to train the gods and goddesses of Olympia's children, right? So he ended up working along, these legends came to Chiron, and Chiron would then train the children. So Chiron ended up being extremely well known, and Zeus actually, from another noble story within Chiron's mythology, actually dedicated him a place in our sky, right? Because of his nobility, because of his ability to adapt and to learn and to grow and to step into the best of us, right? And to basically train, right? And so moving along, that is Chiron's mythology. There is more to Chiron's mythology with Chariklo. That is his divine counterpart. So those two are also worked together as well. And as far as the astrology of Chiron, so dipping a little bit into the astronomy of Chiron, Chiron was originally first placed as an asteroid, and it was an asteroid for a long time. So you'll see in different books on different websites, what is Chiron? Because some texts he may be considered an asteroid, some texts he may be considered a comet, and in some texts he may be considered a minor planet. So Chiron was showing some comet features and activities. So astronomers said, okay, this is a comet, but then they recognized that Chiron is, if you look closely at Chiron, it has rings, right? So much like Saturn, right? So Saturn and Chiron are very, very similar. And I do find that Chiron has a lot to do with Earth as well. It is one of those aspects of astrology that really, really screams Earth energy to me, right? A lot like Venus, a lot like Taurus, a lot like Libra, a lot like Saturn, a lot like Mercury. Chiron I would put into the Earth OGs, the Earth gang, the earthly energy, right? There's a lot there emotionally tied to Chiron. They say that, I always love Dolores Cannis' teachings, but one thing that she said in her teachings is that we come to Earth to learn about emotions, right? And Chiron has a lot to do with emotions. We'll get to that in a second. So, minor planet, comet today. So it's a little bit of an astronomical anomaly in the sense that we don't really know exactly how to define Chiron, especially in more recent history, but it is very important, and Zeus did put it up there for a reason. And so what is Chiron in astrology? So Chiron is what I describe in my teachings, in my readings for others, as the most sensitive spot on us, right? So for example, the most sensitive spot on a cat, right, is one of them is their lower back, right? They are very, very particular when you touch their lower back, right? Or even like under their belly. That is very much the analogy I would use for our Chiron placement. It's a little bit like when someone starts talking about the topics of your Chiron, we can start to get flustered, we could start to get really emotional, we could start to get triggered, essentially. So this is our most sensitive spot. It is known, Chiron is traditionally known as the wounded healer. You've probably heard this. I'm a little bit of a new age astrologer, and I have no problem saying that. We are born today for a reason. I do love traditional and more futuristic progressive astrology, but I do love being part of that new age movement. And one way in which I was taught actually by my astrologer was, instead of calling Chiron the wounded healer, referring to him as the golden healer, because there is so much depth and authenticity and healing gifts that are found with Chiron, that truly Chiron is the key to our greatest healing. And in astrology too, I just wrote like a little note down. I have a north node in Virgo, so as much as my south node in Pisces would love to wing it and, just kind of improv, my north node in Virgo really would like to just make sure we get all points. So Chiron is bringing the lost parts of ourselves together. There's a lot of different forms of healing that are available to us today, where we call back all fragments of ourselves, right? QHHT does this. I believe the EFT tapping also can do this. I had a session where we did something very similar with that. I think like EMDR or something like that. Chiron, when you get into healing, right? The healing techniques, the healing practices, these help Chiron on a physical level for sure, no matter what your Chiron placement is. When you start to go on a healing journey, or you start to really heal, or even really heal, or even therapy, or learning about yourself, just through the different modalities like astrology, numerology, human design, you are dipping into your Chiron. So that's how it shows up in real life. And most of the time, the topics in which you'll be talking about are connected to your Chiron somewhere, somehow, right? And that's why it's also nice if you can find the aspects that are aspecting your Chiron, then you can get a better idea of all the different facets of your healing, right? Chiron is where we were made vulnerable in this area. And because we were made vulnerable in this area, it feels like we got exploited in this area, right? And we can have very traumatic and toxic experiences with the subject that is related to our Chiron. And therefore, this is where people can easily trigger us, where we can get triggered by people with this sign. If whoever has the same sign, right, whether it's their sun, their Venus, any placement that somebody has that is the same sign as your Chiron, they will trigger you. And I describe Chiron relationships as the healing relationships. And it's something that is bittersweet, because they can be so healing to us when somebody activates our Chiron, and yet they can trigger us again and again. And there could just be trauma that is shared by the two people with Chiron relationships. And with that being said, Chiron is the opportunity for us to locate and to heal. So since Chiron, let's go to a little bit of the light side of Chiron. So that is obviously the shadow side of Chiron. It's how we act when we are triggered. It's what we are triggered by. It is, those toxic or vulnerable experiences, or when there wasn't enough of it. So what do? A lot of times, because we know how it feels to feel deficient in this area, we know what it feels like to not be listened to not be heard, to, be exploited, to have trauma here, however it may have manifested. We bring a healing energy in that way. Our healing energy starts to develop, which it's funny, right? It's because we were treated this way, we would have never want anyone else to be treated that way. So because we were in the training grounds, right? That was the training grounds for us, right? For our healing, right? That very much the same energy, the light energy, is the healing we bring to other people. And it definitely is the energy that is going to heal us as well. So not only is it the key to our own healing, it is the healing energy in which we bring to the world, we bring to other people, and specifically whatever sign your Chiron is in, or whatever area of life, aka the house. This is going to be the area of life, and the sign represents, certain subjects in life. This is going to be where you are called to be a healer, where you have a healing effect on people. And we, to heal this, we want to react differently. That is how we clear the karma. Chiron is very karmic, so it is connected to past lives and future lifetimes. It's a training ground, right, that we are continuing to train in. Also, Chiron has been linked to generational. It's a generational placement. So typically mom or dad did struggle with this / does struggle with this, right? So last but not least, two more things with Chiron. One, there are two major Chiron placements, or two major Chiron transits that do appear in our life. And that is in our 20s. Right? In our 20s, we experience our Chiron opposition. Now, it's going to very much differ because Chiron stays for a different length of time in some of the signs. So it really does depend. You can look up when Chiron was opposing your natal Chiron. And this, and when people describe like your 20s as like you're finding yourself, and everything is like taken very seriously and things like that. I do think of Chiron when I think of our 20s, and then it does come around again either in our late 40s or 50s, and that is our actual Chiron return. So Chiron is returning back to where Chiron was originally when you were born in your 50s, and that where the 20s is like the first experience with it. The 50s is typically the second experience with it. We do have Chiron's squares and things of that nature. So you can really get nuance with it and look at the sextiles and the trines. However, those are the major two that I would say where a lot of the healing, a lot of the trauma, a lot of the triggering, a lot of the moving forward goes through. And or the last thing about Chiron is some of us are called to be healers. Not only all of us can have a calling to heal in some way, shape, or form. Others in this lifetime, we do all have some sort of healing effect or healing gifts. However, some of us do have the signature of a healer, which typically involves having a very prominent Chiron placement. So what is a prominent placement, do you ask? Well, this would be a Chiron conjunct your ascendant or your descendant or your midheaven or your IC. I have a Chiron conjunct my midheaven, for example. If you have Chiron in the first, 12th, or second houses, this would indicate having a very healing presence, effect on people, having a lifetime where we are healing other people. We are training as well. It could be a indicator of being very good at training. I've seen Chiron be incredible dance teachers and incredible coaches and incredible athletes and incredible people who have trained for something for a long time. So, and if you have Chiron conjunct any of your planets, huge as well. Or even in your fourth house, that is our psychological foundation. So that being said, you could be called to healing fields or fields where a healing presence is greatly appreciated, like child protective services, like being a teacher, like something where we're going to influence others with our healing abilities. So that is everything about astrology and Chiron. Let's go ahead and also Chiron is a centaur. I don't know if I had mentioned that, and its symbol is very much connected with the key. So that is Chiron. Now let's go ahead and dive into each sign. So the first sign for Chiron. So if you have Chiron in Aries, if you have Chiron in the first house, if you have Chiron at the 1st, 13th, or 25th degree, or if you have Chiron aspecting Mars, then this does mean that you do have in this lifetime an Aries Chiron, whether it's a layer of it, that's a big portion of your Chiron, like the sign. This is going to be so the high and low expressions of each, right? So the high expression or light expression of Aries Chiron is making other people feel accepted for who they are. That is truly one of the biggest healing gifts with Chiron. So that, and then it's also about being able to destroy any obstacles in our way. This is the key to our own healing and the key to our healing effect on others. So making other people feel like they can do anything they set their mind to, and that if there's a will, there's a way for each person in the way that they will succeed, in the way that we're bringing out their gifts. And with that being said too, we also have Aries Chiron that is able to be the pioneer, like able to start over, able to be the pioneer in their own life and in their own journey. And then we also have with Chiron, the light expression is also a lot of confidence that we can do things, and a lot of authenticity. So, we could show up very authentically, and that gives other people permission to show up authentically as well. Now, some of the lower expressions of Chiron in Aries would be an anger, right? And this can definitely be something that how we heal this is we acknowledge our anger, right? We are be able to dissipate it by acknowledging it, right? And another part of Chiron in Aries can be, not feeling confident, not feeling like we have a good sense of who we are, not feeling like confident to go after whatever we want and to destroy all obstacles in our way. This also can be, a wound with masculine energy as well. So stepping up and having to be the masculine energy early on in life could have been something that was prominent, or even having wounds around the masculine energy in our life. So mom, for example, or dad, for example, could have been very angry, could have been reactive, could have been selfish, could have been overly cocky, could have been hyper independent, right? Like hyper independence is something that we could have trained a lot in, right? That was our training grounds. We were training to be hyper independent, to be the warrior, right? To be the strong one, to just keep going. And though we can train others by, saying that they could do anything that they set their mind to, that to have confidence in yourself, to be able to take the risk. Sometimes we may, when people, for example, one of the ways in which we may get triggered is if somebody says, that we're not confident, or does something to trigger our confidence wound, then we could react a little unexpectedly. We could feel very raw, right? That is Aries too. That is also just a side effect of Aries, is feeling emotions very, very raw. And like we are exposed, right? And so one of the ways in which we're going to heal this, because healing's a never ending journey too. I would just like to say this is why it's connected to past lives and future lifetimes. We healers, for example, you want to go to a healer that has been through so many things, right? We don't want to go to a healer that hasn't been through anything, and maybe they won't be able to help us, but we would like to be able to have the experience so that we can have the training. And then once it gets to a point where it's time to perform, it's time to heal, it's time to use our healing effect or go towards a more healed and evolved version of our Chiron, we want to lean into the light aspects. However, there will be times where we lean into the shadow aspects, depending on events and what other section of the healing knowledge we're going to get, right? So this is something just to note too with Chiron, that Chiron's so multifaceted. We may heal the confidence aspect of our chart, yet the hyper independent aspect of our Chiron may need some healing, or even the ability to go after what we want, right? Or to destroy all obstacles in our way, or our relationship with masculine energy, right? So there are different sections of this, but another way that we can heal our Chiron in Aries is a healthy amount of independence, like truly having the independence and the ability to make our own decisions, to have a say in the way which we want to live life. What do we need? It is very healthy for Chiron to use more I statements, right? That is actually something that heals when it comes to their needs, their emotions, right? They really need to put themselves first in order to do a lot of their healing, right? And also the healing can also be heavily connected to the physical body as well. So actually physical movement, sex, something that kind of makes us feel excited, something that trying new things actually is really, really healing for us. So we are healing basically the wound of having to put everything on our shoulders, and then be training in that environment to where we naturally know that we are capable of doing anything. And then instead of it feeling like everything is on our shoulders, it just becomes, we're able to simplify our life to the point where, because we're answering our needs, our desires, we have a lot of faith in ourselves, we have a lot of beliefs in ourselves, we know that we can get through anything. This allows for us to be a very healed, very, very, the healer archetype would be the warrior, right? So helping others become the warrior, the pioneer, right? So then we have a Chiron in Taurus. So if you have a Chiron in Taurus, Chiron in the second house, Chiron at the 2nd, 14th, or 26th degree, or Chiron aspecting Venus, then this is going to be your section. So the light side emanation of Taurus, Chiron in Taurus, Chiron at a Taurus degree, is very much making other people feel like you are a grounding presence, right? So you are a grounding presence in the lives of other people. You could be somebody who loves to and has a gift, actually a healing gift, for making other people feel more secure, whether that is financially, emotionally, mentally, or even physically, right? Like Taurus rules over the shoulders, right? And kind of like this section. And I think that Taurus give the best hugs, for example. physical touch is really big, right? So, Taurus rules over the five senses. You could be, one of the healing gifts and one of the things that heals you is the five senses, right? So, smelling good, scents, right? Very, very, actually sensitive to scents. So, lavender for going to sleep, right? And jasmine for calming, or, I think jasmine is calming, but, incorporating that, right? And just by you smelling good, right? It's like you get people back into the present moment. You get people into feeling a little bit more sensual, focusing on the details, right? And then we have the other senses, right? So Chiron and Taurus could also have a very healing voice, or music could be very healing to them. Like, actually, people who have gifted voices, healing voices, can be very healing to Chiron and Taurus, as well as instruments. So sound bowls can be something that is really healing, or, music, frequencies, speaking your throat chakra, speaking, whether singing, whether it's like whatever way that we cathartically release emotions, through our voice, whether we're talking, whether we are singing, whether we are poetry, whatever it may be. That's also something that I do find with Chiron and Taurus is they have like a healing voice, they have a healing presence, they have a healing, the way that they interact with the world too can just put people more at ease. And the light side also of Taurus is what I call the Venus path, which is like a lot of Venus placements have the opportunity to benefit from the Venus path. Which, how do we heal Chiron and Taurus? We accept the Venus path, which the Venus path actually was a spiritual path in ancient Egypt. And the path, essentially, to put it very shortly, was to leave things, people, places more beautiful, leaving them than we had found them. And 100% Chiron's healing presence, and also what heals us, right? So if we go into our room, it's a habit of leaving things more beautiful. So if we walk into our room, we don't remember what we needed, we're going to leave. Maybe we'll just adjust and clean something, right? Or if we go over to somebody's house, we may write a note for them, leave it with them, right? We may, if we're watching one of our friends' kids, we may just like brush out their hair and put little things in it. That truly helps with healing the Chiron wound around the love that we deserve, and just deservingness in general. The wound here is deserving, and knowing what we deserve and who we deserve in our life, and anything, really anything. What do we deserve? And so what type of car do we think we deserve? That is huge. What type of relationship do we think that we deserve? What type of love do we think that we deserve? There's a quote from Perks of Being a Wallflower, which I always reference to Chiron in Taurus, or Chiron at a Taurus degree, anything like that, Chiron in the second house. And I say the scene in Perks of Being a Wallflower where one person says to the other something along the lines of, why do we love people that hurt us? Essentially, why do we put up with people who hurt us even though we love them? Why do the people we love hurt us? Why do we allow that? And the other person responds and says, we accept the love we think we deserve. And I swear I have goosebumps every single time that I think about that, because it's truly Chiron and Taurus. We accept the job, the life, the beauty, the confidence, the security, the money, the paycheck, the marriage, the person that we think that we deserve. So what is going to heal the Chiron and Taurus? Knowing and believing that we deserve anything that we want, right? Because Venus is very much just desire, right? A lot like Mars, and Venus is then the attainment of that desire. And what we're going to do once we get our desire, right? And that's going to bring us a lot of pleasure. So sometimes Chiron in Taurus also talks about not being able to enjoy pleasure, having trouble enjoying pleasure, having trouble accepting compliments, having trouble being the receiver in bed, having trouble enjoying luxury and feeling deserving of that and actually relishing in the pleasure. This can be a wound around being able to relax, go slow down, to move slowly, to have our nervous system be healthy and regulated, and just wounds around money in general and like materialism. They could be triggered. Chiron and Taurus could be triggered where somebody says, you're materialistic, like you bought that, and Chiron and Taurus can get triggered by that because they may feel like they inherently don't deserve it, or they take pride in them being not materialistic, right? But it's just things, and when we enter Earth, we truly have an equal chance and an equal deservingness to go for the things that we want, to manifest, to attract, to relish in the experiences of these things, so it also can be with self-worth and self-security, so self-confidence, and also this can be wounds around actually solidifying our values, which I've also found very interesting with Chiron and Taurus. It can be wounds when somebody says, well, what do you value? You're very mutable, or you're very this and that. Like, what are your values? And there can be triggers around actually solidifying into one way of being, settling and sinking into one set of values. Even though, we're allowed to shift and change our values at any time, but it is good to define our values, and it's good as well to have a healthy relationship with attachment, which can also happen with Taurus. We can get very attached to something in fear that it's going to leave, in fear that we are not going to ever enjoy it enough, or we don't want things to change, so we're just going to stay attached to this person, this item, this version of ourselves, right? So the wound can be being able to healthily have healthy attachment styles to things. And also just beauty as well, taking care of things, taking care of the people that we love. This is where we can go either end, right? With the light and dark spectrum of Chiron, right? Where sometimes by just taking care of the things that we love, that is reflective of us, right? So if we take care of ourselves, we take care of the things that we own, we take care of the people in our life, then that's a value that we have, right? So being able to live life consistently is also there. So, but yes, the healing effect of Taurus really is being grounded, really is taking care of things, people, nurturing it so that it grows, and nurturing it so that it's simple, right? Having more simplicity in our life is going to be how we know we are healing. When there's more simplicity in our life, when we are loving and really enjoying the things, the people in our life, because as we heal and our self-worth goes up and our deservingness goes up and our ability to like hone in and be more consistent, that's how we'll know that we are healing. So then we have Chiron in Gemini, which if you have Chiron in Gemini, Chiron at the 3rd degree, 15th degree, or the 27th degree, or Chiron aspecting Mercury or the 3rd house, then this is going to be your Chiron section. And so what is the light aspect of Chiron? So this is having a really big healing effect when it comes to listening to other people. Active listening is one of Chiron and Gemini's strong suits. So making other people feel heard. Another one is being extremely intelligent through curiosity, right? And so this is that lack of ego, it's a good thing, right? The lack of ego where we aren't afraid to ask questions. We aren't afraid to bounce ideas and to collaborate and to really bring in the opinions of others. And this is also having a healing way with words, like 100%. The expression, Chiron is the trainee and Gemini is the messenger. And so we have somebody that's training to deliver messages, right? And it reminds me of Kanye, this song. He says, "You think I'm delivering heavenly messages just for the hell of it." And it is like such a Chiron in Gemini placement. I don't know if he has that, to be honest with you, but that's what it is being able to deliver the message. A lot of people could have the idea. A lot of people could have the thought. Not everybody can express it. And beyond that, not everybody can express it in a way in which the other person on the other end is going to be receiving it and be receptive to it, to understand it, to want to listen to that person. And that's Chiron and Gemini's gift, is really being able to, when they do speak, it being something of value, being something that is also like not a lot of times not a lot of self-interest. Typically they are very much bouncing off the other person's energy, the other person's ideas, the topics, the subjects, very quick-witted replies, knowing and expanding upon subjects that are being laid out. It's a mutable air sign, so it really works off of other energies, and that can make other people feel heard, feel seen. And again, just having a beautiful way with expression, with words. I do think that one of the healing is the healing archetypes of the Chiron and Gemini is just being open-minded, right? And that just invites for a lot of joy in life, right? When we're open, right, to different perspectives, to different ways of expressing, and that is the light side of Chiron and Gemini. This also can talk about, when we start to get into the dark side of Chiron and Gemini, this can be the toxic experiences or trauma with friends, with our intelligence, with being heard, with being listened to, with being acknowledged, with being included, in groups or in social settings, or sharing, right? There could have been, like, when we want to share, there's a wound around that, around sharing. This also can be like perhaps even like a stutter. This can be like learning, perhaps like there was wounds around early elementary school as well. The third house in Gemini can represent that. And with the Gemini too, it's like Chiron and Gemini can be almost too understanding sometimes too, right? Too understanding of everyone's different point of views, that it could be triggering because our wounds don't get addressed, or we are known as the listening ear, or we're known as the right, the one that is just going to be the person to lean on, and perhaps the friendship that we put in, or the bonds that we made, perhaps there was some difficulty with that, right? So when we have Chiron in Gemini, we also have perhaps being called out for having different hobbies, having a lot of different ideas, or this could also be with siblings. It could be with siblings where we had like some tougher moments with that as well. This definitely can also be anxiety, right? That we get into a more anxious, we may have trouble, being being open and, speaking our truth and delivering the message, but that is 100% what we're meant to do. So one of the ways in which we can heal will be through writing, will be through expression, whether that's through style, whether that's through making music, writing, publishing. This can also be through even learning like through like short journeys, right? Like we take a class with these people in our class, and like that was just a really healing experience. Or we take the road trip in our own state or province, and like we just explore the area. This also can be healing through finding the people that we do love to share with. I think that one of the most healing experiences is going to be just the art of sharing, like music and ideas and stories and opinions and days and activities with other people. Bonding is going to be extremely healthy. Bonds are going to be extremely beneficial and very healing for Chiron and Gemini. And just knowing that you are free to express and that there will be someone that relates to you. And if you are not finding those people, we're just in the wrong room, right? There is someone out there that would understand what you're about, and that we also need to be understood too, that we also want to be listened to as well. That our gift is being able to see a lot of different perspectives while forming our own opinion. Well, that opinion also matters, right? So being able to just be adaptable too is something that's going to really, really help Chiron and Gemini as well. Perhaps sometimes they may have been had to be too adaptable, like they would have given people a lot of slack for not responding back or something like that. But we're meant to be adaptable in other ways. So whatever way in which you feel like, man, but I've been really adaptable here. Like I've gone to different schools and tried to make friends, or, I've tried different outlets of expression, or I've tried to XYZ, right? It's like, well, one of the ways in which we're going to heal with Chiron and Gemini is going to speak out what we do want, right? And like write that out very clearly and really listen to ourselves, and do like almost make a promise to ourselves that when we do find our people, when we do, that we will be adaptable enough to be open again, right? To be open to being adaptable in like who we connect with and things like that. And then also sometimes Chiron and Gemini could also use their mental whip, their mental wit and their detectiveness from being able to be extremely intelligent. Gemini's extremely intelligent. Like they could use their intelligence or their words, or their tongue could be their sword, essentially, right? So we do have that. And then we do have, and so that's going to be the healing for Chiron in Gemini. Like anything too where we can like draw, where we can also with Chiron and Gemini, anything that we can connect with, right? Like even if that's like getting like a puppy, or starting a blog, or being able to express, that's going to be really, really healing. Anywhere which we could feel that we're heard. Music can be really healing, right? Like any form of expression. And also like sharing with other people could just be very healing. Like even sharing your sandwich, it's a really real thing. Like even just sharing like an opinion, like it could lead to something else. And I do think that Chiron and Gemini is going to be in its light when it is using its words to heal, and not as a sword, essentially. And also we'll feel like we are floating, that we are adaptable and not like anxious and not like sporadic and like kind of like causing chaos in our own mind, or in our life. So then we have Chiron in Cancer. So if you have Chiron in Cancer, you have Chiron at the 4th degree, the 16th degree, or the 28th degree, or you do have Cancer in the 4th house, or you have Chiron aspecting your moon, then this is going to be your section. So what are the early ties with Chiron and Cancer. So, of course, this can be a mother wound, right? This can be the same wound that we are healing for our mother, right? This can be also just like wounds around our culture or wounds around like where home really was growing up. This can be family dynamic wounds, right? Like behind closed doors, that's when our wounds show up, right? And I would also say too, with Chiron and Cancer, that our wound is very much like being wounded and being a healer. That whole like duality of Chiron is part of our psychological foundation. So the psychological foundation, whatever you have Cancer placements in, whatever's in the 4th house, that is part of our psychological foundation. So we have really early experiences with that. It is just a part of us. So for example, family dynamics, right? If our parents were divorced, then or we moved around a lot and we didn't really have a home, or like a true place in which we felt home. This also can be, if we didn't feel nurtured, right? Not feeling nurtured, or when we did express our emotions, they were exploited. They were swept away. They were not acknowledged. There was a wound there, a core wound that was developed, with in past lives, of course, where we just don't feel safe. We don't feel safe. There's not a home base. There's not a lot of nurturing. Or this can also be too just wounds around our mother. Perhaps our mother, depending on what it is, traumatic experiences with our mother and just with feminine energy, right? So traumatic experiences around feminine energy, maybe feminine energy was seen as, nope, don't do that. Don't go soft. Don't be very open and receptive to other people's feelings. Don't be empathetic. Don't be conscientious of the energies in the room or other people. Like, either turn it off, or either, just worry about yourself, or, it's just not safe to let your guard down, right? And so sometimes Chiron in Cancer, when they are triggered, right, can have very, very big emotional reactions, right? So versus, Chiron in Gemini can be very nervous and very perhaps like anxiety, like it's hard to breathe, or their mind becomes like a darker place, right? We have Cancer, which their emotional world, they're behind closed doors. It could be a little bit of a darker place. Like it can very much, it reminds me of that song with The Weeknd. I think it's After Hours, where he says, "And this house is not a home without my baby," right? So it's very much Ohana too, like not just the family that you came from, but when you grow up and it's starting to become time to live with different people, whether that's roommates or friends or siblings or partners or whatever it may be. This is when we may have some wounds around here, right? Like, and it really depends on the dynamic, right? Like, and it's where we're very sensitive, right? So, for example, if somebody has Chiron in Cancer and they're going to let a friend live with them, right, for, let's say, like a couple of months, and that friend, like, gets, makes dinner from scratch and invites everyone in the house or the apartment to like come and eat together, this can just be very, very sensitive. Like, oh man, like those early childhood experiences, or like, having a feminine energy very, very prominent around us can be very, very healing. And that's just the paradox of Chiron, right? It's like sometimes the most healing thing for us is the very thing that we avoided, or the very thing that, and a lot of times that's what it is, right? It's like the healings and the things that we avoid, right? But there's so much healing that does happen through family experiences, healthy experiences with family, the family that we came from, the family that we develop. This also can be around safety with the people that we are attached and connected to. So, finding safety in partnership, right? We do live with partners. Finding safety, also, yeah, with how we are emotionally connecting to other people would be very, very beneficial for Chiron in Cancer to learn a lot about emotions, or, psychology. Therapy would be awesome, but even anything, yeah, astrology, human design, QHHT, healing like the early childhood experiences, right? And this also, too, I've seen Chiron in Cancer, it's like it's hard for them to cry. Like that could just be the very thing that they avoid, is feeling how we're going to heal is feeling every layer and atom of a feeling and cathartically releasing. The way to heal Chiron in Cancer is catharsis, which is the releasing of emotions. We will need to release the emotions some way, somehow. So that is huge for Chiron in Cancer. And we are doing some major healing for our lineage when we have this placement. And this also, feminine energy is just really, really healing in general to domestic bliss, right? Animals, having a clean house, or living in a place in which we really like, decorating our room the way that we like, having our alone time if we prefer that within a house or our own space, or having a bunch of comfy things, right? It's very much building our own sense of safety, building our own family values, our own traditions, finding who feels like home, what place feels like home, for Chiron in Cancer. And also, again, yeah, feeling like we're free to express our feelings, we're free to express our intuitive hunches or our imagination, or things like that. Really, really healing for Chiron in Cancer. So with that being said, then we have Leo. So Chiron in Leo, if you have Chiron in Leo, or you have it at the 5th degree, the 17th degree, or the 29th degree, or you have a Chiron in the 5th house, or you have Chiron aspecting your sun, this is for you. So one of the main wounds around Chiron, and one of the very sensitive subjects around Chiron, is just feeling like we are enough. I'm going to say it again. Feeling like we are deficient can just be something with Chiron in Leo that can lead us to either acting out like a child for attention, like really, really craving attention, going too far when we do receive attention, performative habits, right? Living for the applause, living for the compliments, living for the validation. That attention is love, that validation is love, right? That also developing ego, right? Which also Chiron and Leo, depending on the aspects and things like that, can also kind of go the other way, where we actually do need to develop courage, right? Develop courage so that we can just be who we want and do what we want to do and love in the way in which we want to love and express and take up space and be big and bold and direct. Like, we are building courage to do that. And then when Chiron is in its strength, when it is healed, when it is offering its healing gifts to the world, it looks like somebody who, through what they have been through, is them on purpose, who loves loud, who roars big, who, not only loves to shine, but also honors other people shining, right? And it's very much too, I don't know if you have noticed this with children, because Leo is obviously really related to the child. So this can be child wounds, right? Where if you ask a child, because a lot of children, right, they do tend to ask for attention, some of them, where it's like, mom, 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 look at this, look at this, look at this. And then they just go like this or something, and they're like, oh, and they just would love. And I think that that is like the beautiful, beautiful energy of Leo, right? We have Neptune feels exalted in Leo. That is like the most unconditional love, like the most unconditional energy we can receive in love form while on earth. And it's very otherworldly, right? It's not measured. It's something that is like very, very empathetic on a soul level. And that's us, emulating the beauty of Chiron and Leo by honoring the light in them, right? When that light goes off, honoring the light in you, because the light in me honors the light in you. So that is the most healed version of Chiron and Leo, is very much the light in me honors the light in you, right? That spark, that whatever it is, I honor that. Now, this is very similar to Chiron and Aries in the sense that we may be triggered by other big presence. We may be triggered by having to share the stage, right? We may be triggered when other people get the applause, when other people are like the most liked in the room, or we may just feel like that, right? We may just start to get triggered when we are not getting the attention, or our wants or needs were not prioritized first, or we didn't get our way, right? This can be where the triggered sort of aspects come. But a healed, like, Chiron and Leo is very much just seeing how everyone in some sense is operating from their inner child, right? Like their inner child is still a part of them. Their inner teenager is still a part of them. Their young adult self is still a part of them. And, when it comes to, when somebody shines very brightly, no matter what it is, whether we agree to disagree, like, I don't like humor like that, or I don't like that outfit, or I don't like the way that they're talking or whatever, it's very much around like projection, right? And there is some part of us within us, right, that wants to either be like that, because we have that capability and that potential within us, but perhaps we haven't, like, we are fearful to emulate that, yet we also desire to freely emanate that because it is sitting within us, right? They're mirroring, and we decided to get triggered by that, right? And so one of the ways in which we can heal is that, kind of seeing a lot of other people that in our life that do trigger us, like, you know what, you are showing your greatness, you're showing your light. And you know what, I'm going to let the light in me honor the light in you. And what I was going to say earlier is, I don't know if you've noticed about kids, but I do think genuinely a lot of children, like when it's their turn, they are like, go, like they're like, oh my gosh, that was amazing, or like, your turn, why don't you go? And like, of course, it's not always like that. We always pendulum, right? Like on every axis within astrology, right? We go from one side to the opposite side, and that's duality, and that's a complete 360, I guess you could say, a complete 180. Everything comes back around full circle, and what goes up must come down. And so we always are going to kind of dip into the shadow and the light in different phases of our life and in different parts of our healing journey. But that is a big one with Leo. I would also say too that perhaps one of the parents was either pressured as a child to be somebody that they truly were not. Like if they just wanted to play, but they had to wear like dresses and like uncomfortable hats, or something like that. It's kind of like when a kid doesn't get to be a kid, right? When a kid had to grow up too quickly, or when a kid and you can kind of see it in adults. you can kind of see it in adults when they did not, like, their childhood was like stolen from them, right? One of the like main examples that are coming to mind is I rewatched the new Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, and I'm touching my hair a lot. It's just so soft and it's like my comfort. So sorry if that's distracting. Moving on to the analogy, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, the one with Johnny Depp, right? When Johnny Depp, he has like flashbacks of him as a kid, right? Like he invites these 5 children that are the winners to come to his chocolate factory, and he didn't know that it was going to be so triggering for him, but people start asking about his early experiences, right? And they start asking him about, what was your favorite candy as a kid? And imagine being a kid and, having access to all of this. And he starts to get triggered, and he gets memories triggered of when his father was a dentist and he lived with his father. And he has like this very traumatic memory of getting all his Halloween candy. Oh my gosh, like it's so like, I'm such a sensitive Cancer, and I have like moon in the 12th house. I'm just very, very sensitive to movies and things like that. And he didn't let him have any of his candy. He burned his candy in the fireplace because his gear, for his teeth, he wasn't allowed to eat the candy. And so quite literally he tasted like there was one part that didn't get completely burnt, and he eats that, and he just like, that was going to heal him, right? Like being able to eat the candy and being able to taste the sweetness of life, right? Like there's so much nuance to that scene, but it reminds me of that, of when people don't get to be a kid and then they go like way too far on kind of like the hedonistic 5th house tendencies, or the Leo tendencies of like wanting to experience a lot of pleasure, right? Which can be, like a lot of gambling is found in the 5th house, or, like acting too childlike, right? Where it's, when we're acting like a child, we could just be acting very immature, right? And this is like the shadow of Leo, or just shadow of the 5th house, when in Chiron, when we get triggered, like this really comes out, or when we are not healing and we're trying to satiate ourselves, this is what we might satiate ourselves with, right? So, trying to satiate ourselves with a lot of dating partners, right? And, perhaps even like sexual pleasures, right, can be something here as well. And it can be stemmed back to not being able to have experienced pleasure, or to be a kid, or to be who we wanted to be, right? And so for some kids, they were forced to grow up too quickly, or they were forced to, be a good girl, or, just really, like they could have gotten praise for their talents too, right? This is a common, I guess, kind of scenario and theme that I see for Chiron and Leo children. But when their parents really applauded them when they did great, and then when they didn't do good, it was punishment, right? Like, well, you didn't perform. You're not the most talented one, right? You weren't not good enough, basically, just as you are. Right? And so we could start performing in life, right? And that could come from like whether you did the talent show, whether you did flute, whether you played sports, whether you just were like the funny one. It can very much be where we may perform. So the kids that are like the funny kids, or the people who want to be good at everything, who get really, really down on themselves when they mess up, who get really, really down on themselves when, they may not even like truly want to create, or truly explore their talents, or truly put themselves out there and shine, because that fear of disappointment goes right back to the childhood wound of when we may have disappointed people and had really toxic experiences around performance, around talents, around attention, right? So we do have that, but of course it doesn't have to be all the time childhood, although a lot of the times it does. This can also be like a spoiled child, right? It can go the other way. We're really, really spoiled as a child. We always were told yes. We always, got whatever we wanted. And we may just have a very big ego now, right? And so, whether we're going to develop the ego or dissipate parts of the ego that no longer serve and build up the parts of the ego that are going to not allow people to walk all over us, that where we're not going to care about what other people think, right? We're going to defend what we believe in, defend ourselves, our authentic self coming through. The Leo Chiron can heal through dipping back into what you loved in childhood, doing things just for fun, as well as doing things for the reward, right? I guess if you want to put it like that, whether that's like being seen or, doing the performance or, creating this, a lot of the healing from Chiron in Leo is actually going to be to like spiritual body, creative body, and sexual body all being very, very active, and having a healthy relationship with all of those, right? With faith within ourself, and, spiritually, our body being very, very powerful, right? Like clean, if you want to put it like that, like uninfluenced by other denser energies, staying out of drama, and, finding the willpower to create and like really, instead of like taking pleasure from like intaking a lot, producing pleasure by creating, and that will give us a lot of willpower, right? To find our to be in our purpose, to have a purpose, to have fun, to have pleasure in life, to perform, and do a great job when we do step up. And I just saw 1-11-11 when I said that. So that is Leo. Then we have Chiron in Virgo. So if you have Chiron in Virgo, Chiron in the 6th house, Chiron at the 6th degree or the 18th degree, or Chiron aspecting Mercury, then this is your section. So one of the big core wounds and very sensitive spots of Virgo very much is with their mind, right? So when they feel triggered or wounded, the dark place can really be with our own mind, right? Within our own thoughts, within also, this can also be with owning our sovereignty, right? Sometimes we could have had experiences early on where our sovereignty, our thoughts, our opinions did not matter, right? Or they were swept under the rug, they were ignored, they were dismissed, or they were exploited, right? And this also can be a wound around feeling intelligent, right? Or also being a wound around being rooted in reality, right? Like, I wouldn't be surprised if the Chiron in Virgo individuals have a wound around, you just like to escape, right? You just like to escape into your emotions or into your daydreams or, into maladaptive coping mechanisms, right? Like the wound can be around feeling lazy, right? Or like not being where we should be in our reality, right? And that could be a real wound and something that triggers us a lot. So one of the shadow effects of Chiron in Virgo can be over-serving or being afraid to say what we truly think or feel because we're afraid of like the opinions of other people, or that we're going to get fact checked, or that, we're not going to be seen as smart, or, we could just be like heavily criticized. Like just being criticized in general is something that Chiron and Virgo really struggles with. And sometimes they can struggle with taking themselves too seriously versus a very healthy Virgo, right? Like when we're healed. So like Chiron and Virgo, and you'll see too, you'll relate to this, if you have just like great aspects to your Chiron, or if you have healed in this way, or you just have, in your training grounds, you have found this within Chiron, and your experience with Chiron is one of the healing effects with Chiron and Virgo is their ability to take that like analyzing gift that they have, because they do have beautiful analyzing gifts, to analyze how to find helpful solutions, right? So very, very, very talented with this, right? And then also on how to best serve somebody. And this could be within any service industry, right? It could be luxury, it could be health, it could even be simply just with the person right in front of us. Typically, Chiron and Virgo knows how to help that person very intuitively. They go with the gut instinct, right? I got this soup for you while you were sick because this makes sense in this way, right? So they're anchoring into the reality of a situation and a grounded, practical sense of that intelligence, that intelligent part of Virgo that is very practical, that can understand, the reality of what's going to work, what's going to be efficient, what's going to be most productive, right? And that actually heals. And knowing too, this is just like what it is. I could have just said this in the video, or at least Virgo's part of the video could have been over. It's just like the perfectionist wound, right? Like it's just not perfect enough, or I could have done better. I could have said this, or why did I say that? Like that could be kind of the voice. Chiron and Virgo can be very much a negative voice. And that is the childhood wound, is we were criticized. Right? We did have somebody who had a negative voice in our ear, that we could have always been doing better, that we weren't, doing reality great enough, right? We weren't being productive enough, or, we could have done more. We could have done more to help a situation, right? This could also have been blamed for not helping. So now there's like this reaction where, yeah, I want to help. I want to be of service. I feel bad for not helping. Or, that sort of thing. I'm going to overwork to be useful, because our utility and how useful we are could be equated to our worth. And that's just not true. Right. And I would say the last thing with Virgo too would be like actually speaking what's on our mind. Virgo energy, like their opinion's their opinion. I mean, they'll hear you out. They'll look you dead in your face for 2 minutes and listen to your opinion, not say a word and be like, yeah, I still think I'm right. And, and that also can be Chiron and Virgo can be, we're not always right. Right? Right? How many times can I say right in different ways? So, because we don't know everything, right? So when we were pressured to know more, when we were pressured to do more, when we were pressured to be more, now we may have this like reaction when we're triggered to be more, to say more, to, and when we do, if we have this expectation that it's meant to be perfect, it will never be enough. And there can be this feeling of, well, should I even say that? What if I say something wrong? And then it can cause a lot of anxiety. It can cause that as kind of the wound. So, and just having a lot of sovereignty over our body, over ourselves, there can be a wound with this as well, right? Because we can feel like we're losing control. So we may attach to certain things to feel instantly in control, which can be like, we can kind of be like with details kind of like entering somewhat of like the control freak archetype, where it's like, nope, I don't want that this way. I want that this way. Wait, you didn't wash my socks this way, or my coffee isn't put this way. And that's the way. And if they do get triggered, if Chiron and Virgo gets triggered by that, then that is a sign that that is exactly what needs healing, that things are allowed to be not perfect, that we will never be perfect. There is no situation where anything is perfect except for nature, but that's like perfectly imperfect, right? Like imperfectly perfect, right? And it's adaptable. And that is what leads to satisfaction, is just being adaptable. And so I find that the best of Virgo and Chiron in Virgo is being adaptable with helping, being adaptable with when we are given a task and just like doing it great. Again, listening to our gut, that is what we should say. Listening to our gut, that really never steers us wrong. And even if it did steer us wrong, listening to our gut, right? It's something too that I think, actually my good friend, ESO always says this in her readings. Her name's Tarot on YouTube, and she says that how you'll know the difference between your gut intuition and anxiety is that intuition whispers and anxiety screams. And so writing would be a huge way to help heal Virgo. Simplifying their life, really, really great too. Like their space and organization and things of that nature, like their own hygiene routines. However we can make things simpler, incredible. Also just that I would say too that they are intelligent as they are, that also like listening to the gut instinct, right? Which is going to be, oh my gosh, that sweater is so pretty, right? If that's like our intuitive thought, right? And then we may be like, oh, but like I saw that influencer say that like these are just not in anymore. Or I remember that one time that somebody said that I don't look good in white or whatever. And it's like, well, maybe I do want it. Do I want it? Do I not want it? And then that's like the mind, right? That is like where I'm not perfect enough for this, or, it's not the perfect product, or it's not the perfect thing. Of course, that's like a very trivial example. However, I think that it rings true to just going with our gut. And Virgo, gosh, the healing effect of Chiron and Virgo is like, who cares? Who cares what other people think? All right, I'll listen to the opinion. Okay, heard the opinion. Yeah, last time I checked, I'm doing great. I'm doing fine. And your opinion is your opinion, right? And stand on your business. Say what you want. Express what you want to do what you want to do, right? And do it on purpose. Haha. It reminds me of Cher when she says, as I've gotten older, I look back and I wish that I would have been a lot worse. And it's just, that is like, she's so much earth in her chart. And I think Chiron and Virgo is a very, very intuitive healer as well. Just extremely, extremely intuitive. And then we have Chiron in Libra. This one's mine. So if you have Chiron in Libra, you have Chiron at the 7th degree or the 19th degree. You have Chiron in the 7th house, or you have Chiron aspecting Venus. This is going to be your section. So if I could say one thing about Chiron in Libra, this typically is like the feminine energy. Just our relationship with feminine energy could be a very sensitive spot on us, right? Feeling beautiful, the permission to feel beautiful, the permission to experience pleasure, the permission to be a partner, right? The permission for us also to have peace in our life, right? To simplify our life and to love in the way in which we want to love. For things to be equal can be a wound. Of course, this has a lot to do with relationships. This can also be just any people we have one-on-one connections with. So this could be business partners. This could be friends. This could be relationships. But I would say relationships. And of course, too, like commitment, right? This is really, really big here. The relationship with commitment. So we have that. This is basically wounds around love, around feeling beautiful, around experiencing peace, ease, joy, simplicity. This also can be fairness. That is what I was going to say. Fairness, right? Justice, right? So, the shadow or like low side of Libra Chiron is people pleasing, right? Just to keep the peace, and people pleasing to make somebody else happy, to make somebody else love us, right? Wanting love at all costs. and really getting out of balance is how we'll know that we are we want to heal that, right? And the shadow of Chiron and Libra can be like gossiping, right? Because in order to make ourselves feel good, we'd rather, if we don't feel good about ourselves or we don't feel balanced and peace within ourselves, then we may just want to avoid talking about ourselves in general and talk about other people, right? Which can be drama, which the shadow side can be, also codependency can be very, very big with Libra as well. Right? So codependent relationships and codependency is something that could be a main wound. And this could be because early on in life, this is a little similar to Chiron and Leo, actually, because Venus is our self-worth, right? And very similar to Chiron and Taurus. Venus is our self-worth, right? What we're worth, right? And so if we feel like somebody's too good for us, like we're not worthy of an object, or we're not worthy of a person to be in a relationship with, or we're not worthy to look that beautiful or to have a photo shoot, or, if we feel like we're not worthy of something that is inherently very, very normal and actually included in the pleasures of earth and life, like looking beautiful and having nice things and being in love and experiencing pleasure, then we may feel like we're not good enough. So we are going to overcompensate and be very codependent in a sense where we may, do things for our partner, like, for example, be a giver in bed, or try to financially gain that person's love or attention or value. And we may be very codependent and say, did you like this? And, oh, wow, like you're happy, like making you happy makes me happy. And, you feeling good makes me feel good. But does it when it's coming from a void place, when it's coming from an unhealed place? And reciprocity can be something that is actually a wound with Libra Chiron too. Like being able to receive and not feeling guilty at all. Like, here's a free 1 hour massage. And sometimes a Chiron and Libra could be like, whoa, like, this is too much. I don't feel like I deserve this. And, or feeling bad for enjoying things. And this can come to also like from a parent who didn't feel like they were deserving of nice things, or they may have been very selfish and kept the nice things for themselves, right? Or only thought about themselves. Or there could have been, just some sort of like fight or flight where it's like, oh man, like I can't have nice things. Nope, I can't have nice things. I was taught otherwise, right? That's not safe. Or, when we finally did get nice things, perhaps we were ridiculed, right? Like, oh, like I went shopping and it's like, you have the money for that? Or that's not very practical of you. Or, a lot of times Chiron in an air sign is like a voice, or if it's connected to Mercury, it can be like a voice in our head. And it was things that were said to us, right? Which affects our mentality, right? So to heal Chiron in an air sign or a Mercury sign, I mean, in general, for everybody, it's going to be a mentality, but for sure, it's going to be honed in on the mental space and the voice in our head and the thoughts that are repetitive and like how we process information that really, when it's tuned up, like to put it like that, like a car, we're getting a tune up. When we tune that up, then we heal. So it's actually very, very healing for Chiron and Libra to read and to get educated, not only about behaviors and people, but also anything surrounding relationships, anything surrounding beauty, anything surrounding feminine energy, right? The permission to be feminine, also like just the wound around femininity, right? So it could have been like on either side of the spectrum, where on one side it could have been, it's not ladylike to argue, so just be agreeable, right? Or, it's very rude to show up looking like that, right? So then we want to look perfect all the time, and then we can feel insecure if we don't have our extensions in, or if our teeth are not white, or if we do have a stain on our shirt. We could not go to events. We could not go to go to photo shoots, or there's a certain line where there could also be a level of like a perfectionism with Libra Chiron, where we're expected to be the perfect partner, we're expected to be the perfect daughter. Like the role in which we're playing in other people's lives, the pressure can become too much, that we are going to need help from other people's ends. But there can be a wound around accepting help, because when we accepted the opinion or the help or the love of other people, it was conditional, or it was shallow, or it was something that didn't make us feel good, that didn't bring us pleasure, that wasn't fair, and quite literally stirred us into more drama and was very shallow, or just made us feel not beautiful or not at peace anymore, or not in a frequency of love, right? So it's going to be very, very healing. How we're going to heal Chiron and Libra is going to be fair relationships, picking relationships, and picking people that deserve us. So even being a little bit more picky, right? Not that we can only have a certain amount of friends, or whatever. We are going to be picky about the people we do let into our life, because the 5 people that we hang out with, you've heard that quote, that's very 7th house, it's very Libra, it's very true. I find it to be very, very true in astrologically, that quote of you are the 5 people you hang out with most. So remember that the quality of your health, the quality of look good, look good, is going to come a lot from the people that we surround ourselves with. And of course, looking in the mirror and falling in love with who we see, that being beautiful and taking care of ourselves and inviting beauty in everything that we do, and being in our feminine energy, and experiencing more pleasure, and that things are meant to be equal, that we don't have to give first, or we don't have to comply, we don't have to sacrifice, we don't have to do those things if it means stepping on our values, stepping on our peace, stepping on our ability to have a light heart, right? And truly, like, a lot of any healing that we could do to regain a light heart, to feel good and experiencing pleasure, that's really going to be the one too that will result in actually us, as we heal, will raise our frequency, and we will attract other people that are on our same frequency, which is pretty, really cool. So if we like what we see in the mirror, we're going to mirror others in a more beautiful way, right? And other people are definitely a mirror for us. Like that is, probably how we're going to get triggered, is through other people, is through beauty, is through feminine energy, is through having nice things and relationships, right? And like codependency. So having things be very equal and very fair and very balanced in relationships will be a key to healing and being willing to commit, right? We may have had some painful experiences in relationships. Like we thought love was one way, and we were with people who did not show love, right? Who we can't have the light heart if there's drama or lies or, betrayal, or, we're not keeping things simple, right? If there is a lot of that, then we could be very wounded when we attract partners, right? And that's not good, right? Of course, we don't need to be 100% healed when, for anything in our life. It's just not possible, right? We're always healing. But the quality of things we can own, of our ideal success, of our dream lifestyle and our dream life, like that is so much related to Chiron and Libra. Like just feeling worthy of your dream life. Like you don't want to work as hard? Yeah, go ahead. Like you want to become an artist and whatever it is, right? It's like the permission to have that dream life. So the healing effect that Chiron and Libra has is actually they heal through their beauty. They inspire other people. They are great, magnificent partners and people in the lives of those that they care about. They can also heal through their diplomacy, right? Through their ability to arbitrate, right? And find a middle ground to acknowledge and kind of like cathartically release from both sides in conversation or in decisions or within a relationship, and redefine a contract where everybody wins, everybody gets something. And I would also say the feminine energy is actually something that's very strong, because again, just because people made us feel that way doesn't mean that we want other people to feel that way. A lot of times we can really pull and extract out the beauty within the healed parts of ourselves, and we offer that to other people. We just want to make sure that we're giving that to ourselves, we're watering it ourselves, and then the mirror in which what we can give other people expands and becomes so beautiful. So that is Libra. And then we have Chiron in Scorpio. So Chiron in Scorpio is one that, if you have Chiron in Scorpio, you have Chiron at the 8th degree or the 20th degree, Chiron in the 8th house, or Chiron aspecting Pluto, then this is your section. Chiron in Scorpio, the gift here is actually accepting the dark parts of other people, which I love. I love Chiron and Scorpio for this. It is actually to making people feel human when they are going through really tough things. The Chiron and Scorpio person, I've mentioned this so much, but it is truly when people are dealing with the more taboo or hidden or shadow parts of life that we all deal with. We all deal with grief. We all deal with when we explore our sexuality, or, whether that is our actual, like, who we love and who we're attracted to, or just, our own sexual power and things like that, exploring the topic of intimacy, right? Perhaps even things that we hide on purpose, right? When it's Chiron in the 8th house can have trouble sometimes because, and we'll get to it, but the shadow part can be actually like having trouble with vulnerability. And even though they have a lot of depth, there's a lot of experiences that brought them to a huge amount of depth within their life. They are actually, one of their biggest assets is transmutation. They can help other people transmute feelings or situations within their life. And they can be very, very quick to like let other people get very deep with them, and to say things how they are, and to like basically unload like whatever they want, their trauma, their deepest, darkest secrets, things that they regret, right? Like all the things in which we share intimacy. Like it's interesting because we may struggle with that, yet at the same time, like we may be able to receive it very well. And even like emergency like situations, right, where something like there's a lot of chaos, or there's a lot of like a huge event that happened, I find that they are very, very good at being like a healing force. Like they can keep it together, Scorpio, because Scorpio is being able to move through all obstacles, to destroy all obstacles. So when something big happens, like an obstacle, they really can destroy through that, because they desire that, just because simply they desire it. Like if they desire to help, if they desire to make a difference, to be there for somebody else, they really will do anything and knock any obstacle out of their way in order to do that. And they can really help other people do this too. There's definitely we may have had early experiences in our life surrounding Scorpio where the topic of sex, the topic of being sexy, the topic of intimacy, when we shared our thoughts or shared our feelings or shared our body, there could have been toxic or experiences where we felt exploited, right? So this can definitely be formed in early childhood, actually, like the intimacy of like parents listening to their children, and having like the sex talk with their children, and talks about love and talks about life. Like, this is really how life is. I want to prepare you guys for the that you guys can get through anything, like even the more taboo things in life. Like it could be something where we may feel like we couldn't tell anymore people things, right? Or especially with our early experiences, right? Like, I'm not going to share my secrets again. I'm going to keep these certain things private. And not all of it is, some of that is like the healed part of it, right? Because Chiron in Scorpio is very, very good at discernment as well, right? So that is part of what their early experiences were teaching them, was to tap into their discernment. But then sometimes it's like we could discern a little. I guess it's not discern a little too hard, but it's like we could protect our privacy too much. You know that quote where it's like, I protected my privacy a little too hard, and now I live on an island and nobody is here. It's like that, for example, where there can be also triggering. There could have been early experiences with death or with grief, or where there could be a serious fear of loss, right? So we may actually really want people around and get really attached, because we don't want to lose people, because we may have had early experiences where, dynamics that should have been more intimate just weren't. So we may just feel very protective of ourselves. Or when we did enter intimacy, it got used in our face, right? Like, this is reminding me of, for example, like, and I say this with a lot of sensitivity, and this is just an example. And if you have related to this, I am so sorry. Like, for example, like sending a like dirty picture of yourself, right? And then having that be exploited like around the school. So it's like there can just be, it could be a very sensitive subject, our sexuality. Or let's say, for example, we got like sexually projected upon, or even, like we felt like we maybe. And again, this is very, very sensitive, right? But this is, things that people deal with, and I want to touch on it, where we could have felt like sexually used, like, in any way, shape, or form, when no was no, or, we just had like early experiences of maybe people telling us that we looked really sexy and stuff like that at a young age, or not in an appropriate environment. Even sometimes with taboo things, we could maybe sometimes be more adverse to the taboo, or more adverse to the darker things in life, because there could be a fear there, right? And versus the very healed, how we heal that too is by knowing that if we were exposed to the darkest part of the corner of a room, and we sit in that room, then we do become, right? We do become a little bit part of the darkness, right? Which, for example, the void is equal parts creativity and equal parts, kind of like fear of just like the vastness of it, right? It's like with being it with the dark feminine energy, and this really what it is. That's truly what I mean. Like dark energy, it can be just like the dark feminine energy or the dark masculine energy. Like dark feminine energy, for example, is very, very persuasive. It is very authoritative. It is very mysterious. It is very passionate, right? So, when we start to dip into human psychology, I find that these people are great at being able to get to the bottom of things. They're great to be able, because they were exposed to that aspect of life that wasn't all sunshine and rainbows, right? And butterflies. They start to learn early on the dark sides of humanity, the dark sides of being human. But with that being said, within these dark sides, there is a light for every single side, right? And so, whether people, I guess you could say too, they actually could be drawn to like scary movies. They could be drawn to like trauma, like being like a coach in that, or being in working for emergency rooms, or things that people find scary. Chiron Scorpio says that doesn't scare me. And that is very, very powerful. And that is needed on earth, because when other people are going to go through situations that, they don't feel that comfortable talking about, they could find a confidant, they could find a healer that truly, is not going to judge them, right? Because they have seen it, right? Or they've experienced it. And I think that another way to heal Chiron in Scorpio is going to be a healthy relationship with our sexuality. And I also think Chiron in Scorpio is actually owning the full amount of our power, knowing that we can destroy all obstacles in our way and not letting anything keep us from our passion or our desires, because that was something that really, really mattered. Always mattered, was what we desired and what we wanted, and to have the confidence that we can trust in ourselves, right? But that is like building trust with ourselves, right? And as we build trust with others, we build trust. As we build trust with ourselves, we build trust with other people, right? So definitely developing trust and getting comfortable with intimacy too is going to be really big for Chiron and Scorpio. And when we're intimate with ourselves, when we're real with ourselves, when we've integrated our shadows, this is like the inner shadow like work, right? That is what I would say like this really benefits a lot from. Then, too, when with these topics that are taboo and people don't talk about them that much, since they're less talked about, there are levels to these subjects that are occult knowledge, and the 8th house in Scorpio is the truth. It's occult knowledge. It's getting down to the bottom of things. And so this is like having really rare occult knowledge. Like, I love Chiron and Scorpio because they truly are like healers that can have such niche and occult knowledge, which is just lesser known. So and yeah, just by Chiron and Scorpio owning their dark feminine energy and their shadow side, they give people the permission to show off the parts of themselves that other people hide. And I love that. So, and they may also teach others about privacy and like just really be respectful of keeping secrets and having a safe space to share with people. They have the gift of true intimacy with other people. In the light healed version. And then we do have Chiron in Sagittarius. So this is going to be if you have Chiron at the 9th degree, if you have Chiron at the 21st degree, if you have Chiron in the 9th house, or you have Chiron aspecting Jupiter, then this is going to be your section. This is a lot around a wound or an insecurity around our belief systems. Now, when we were younger, there could have been some painful or traumatic experiences with what we believed in, or with religion, or with politics. Basically, any paradigm of defining our beliefs, especially when it comes to how the world works and our perspectives on life. So this could really tap into any of those, right? This could be like traumatic experiences with our beliefs or with religion. This can also be with our own faith, right? Like being able to keep the faith. It could be to, like, we could be afraid to say like what we believe in. We could be but at the same time, the thing that does heal us very much is that being able to revisit these topics of politics, of religion, of spirituality, of, what we believe, just in terms of like our personal adages and our personal metaphors and scriptures that we live by, right? Like sayings or quotes, right? That we live by, defining those is very, very important too. And that is very, very healing, just having faith. However, again, this can be like very much like having a different religion than your parents have, right? Or not believing in the same thing that all of your city, your small town, your state like believes in. This could be, also too, This can be an intelligence wound, right? Like, well, this is how I live my life, and I don't feel accepted for how I live my life. Like the principles of which I live my life on, like we believe that everyone deserves to be free, but we were rejected for coming out of the closet, or, we were disowned for who we dated, or or even for like having a child out of wedlock or something like that. Like those are just a few examples of what I can say, are more common examples, I guess, of a wound with Chiron in the ninth house, where because somebody doesn't believe in the same thing that you do, there was suffering, right? And then when we tried to give our perspective, or we tried to, and this also is like invalidating someone's experience, big time. Like big time invalidating somebody's experience, because Sagittarius is the journey. Sagittarius is like learn by doing, right? So we develop these beliefs from living life, and when when our experiences are invalidated, our opinions, our perspectives are invalidated, then there can feel like seriously like a huge wound around freedom. So we may actually, sometimes in a shadow aspect or an unhealed version of Chiron in Sagittarius, find ourselves in situations in which we're not free, and then we get triggered by the fact that we're not free, but we may subconsciously crave that so that we may break free, or just be able to kind of write the experiences that we had, right? Where, well, they didn't accept me for who I am, and that really, really hurt. So if I also attract somebody who doesn't accept me for who I fully am, then let me break free from that, and then that helps me feel better, right? But that is not something where we're going to heal from, like, repeating experiences that mirror that, and then breaking free that way. Chiron in Sagittarius is going to heal by finding freedom through changing their perspective, right? And they can like move, right? Like Chiron in the ninth house or Chiron in Sagittarius can indicate, I even have seen this with like Chiron in the 12th house. It's kind of like the side effect when triggered is like to run, right? That could be a big one. To run away, to break free, to start a new journey, to like just experience more, something different if we don't like the experience that we're currently having, right? But there's healthier ways and healthy ways to do this. So a more healed Chiron is going to, through changing their perspective, through deepening their faith, through deepening their beliefs, that is going to alchemize the change then and there, and then they are able to freely enjoy the journey of all their experiences and see them kind of as like neutral, right? Or even, the ninth house in Sagittarius is sometimes that's a wound around being like overly optimistic or overly positive as well. It could go the other way, where, we could have grown up in a family that said like, oh, we'll be provided for, and or there's no reason, sadness is not real, or like, and there can be some truth to there's like truth and nuance to every single conversation, right? So it's like not kind of like, I guess you could say, one of the ways in which to heal is to understand that a lot of times people's beliefs is just like their environment or just what shaped them. And actually by traveling, actually by going on a religious, spiritual, or physical long journey, that we expand our consciousness, and we actually heal by expanding our consciousness. And we can expand our own consciousness through reading, like through a mental journey, through a spiritual journey, right? Finding out more about ourselves, coming back to the soul. Or of course, like the more we see, the more we learn, and we realize, and it's very healing to know that we will not know everything, right? And that there's no one person who also knows how we should live our life. we will know how we are meant to live our life. And that can be extremely healing as well. And something that's very healing is just the mutable fire of trying new beliefs, of trying to see things from new and different perspectives. And that really, really, really heals us, and being just more open-minded, right? So, and then also sometimes Chiron and Sagittarius, we could, because we may have been let down by other people and along our journey, or the way we try to live our life, we could really try to, or maybe our experiences didn't go the way in which we wanted them to be experienced. This could also be too where we may go too far of trying to we may overpromise or over give, or kind of over consume, or kind of just go a little bit overboard, to try to get back to an optimistic place, or to try to right our wrongs, or to kind of it's important to get into a settled place in our mind and be conscious of why we're living our life the way that we are, and why we're doing the things that we do. And yes, we can help guide others, we can help others. We just want to make sure that we don't go too far. And that could be just something kind of connected to Jupiter. It's just going sometimes a little too far, over promising, because we wish that somebody would have done that in our experience, right? And so by looking and changing our perspective on what we wish that somebody would have done, or by kind of changing our perspective, then we just heal then and there, and then we can have an experience that is being lived for us, right? Not projecting the experience we wish that somebody would have had, that we would have had, onto somebody else, right? And then we have, let's see, we have Chiron in Capricorn. So Chiron in Capricorn is, if you have Chiron in Capricorn, if you have Chiron at the 10th or the 22nd degree, or you have Chiron in the 10th house, or you have Chiron aspecting Saturn, then this is your section. So this can be a father wound, right? This can be a wound around authority. This can be a wound around living for the achievement, striving for the next achievement, to kind of have control, or to feel good enough, right? Or to impress some sort of higher up authority, right? Whether that is a boss, whether that is society, whether that is our father, whether that is, whoever we're putting, if we have it's kind of having a purpose outside of ourself, right? Or projecting our purpose outside of ourself, right? Our purpose is to impress our parents. Our purpose is to impress, I'm sorry, there's I keep getting phone calls. I'm just gonna mute this very quickly. Okay, so that being said, this can be very much too where it's a little like Chiron and Leo, where it's, I live for the applause, applause, applause. I live for the applause, applause. It's living for the claps, right? Or this can be too a wound, we just want things to look good on the surface too. That is a big one, right? We want it to look good. We want to have it make a good impression. We want to be in control of our reputation, right? So we may come off a certain way. We may strive or kind of sometimes not find a purpose outside of ourselves, right? Where the purpose is just to reach our best potential, right? So this can be a wound around reaching our potential. When we have Chiron and Capricorn, this can feel like we don't achieve anything, or we're an overachiever, right? And it's coming from a place where it's never enough. Never enough. I love that song, Never Enough, by it's in The Greatest Showman. But yeah, that song came to mind, and it's very much is that. It sometimes can be to where we may project onto other people that because we don't feel like what we achieve or who we are is enough, like there's always room for growth, or there's always room to achieve more, or there's always room to be better, we may very well project that onto other people. Like, you could have done more, you know that you have these responsibilities, and like it can very much be where we're projecting, right? And that could be another thing too, also with like Chiron in the first house, by the way, is just like projecting our wounds, right? When we meet people or like interacting with people, like it could be Chiron anywhere, right? Is like where we project, but like if it's on like a major axis, like it can be that we like project our current healing in a way. And so, but Chiron in Capricorn too can be actually like feeling guilty, like, or yeah, like when we try to believe, right? So this is what it could be. It could be like when we try to dream about what we want to achieve, like there could just be wounds around that. Like maybe we just never had parents that pushed us. Maybe we experience authority in ways in which now we may have issues with authority, because perhaps authority was there to discipline us, or maybe it wasn't. Maybe we did not have a disciplinary figure, right? There's either an absence, a complete total absence with Chiron of this thing, or when we did it, like express our Chiron, right? Like we did express our dreams, we did express, you know, or like when it came around to graduate, when it came around to go to college, when it came around to, you know, do something with our lives to find our purpose, when we said what we wanted to do, maybe that was like just completely thrown out the door, or, you know, we just never had anyone to push us, or we just felt like other people were achieving things and we weren't, right? So that could be something too, where like just the pressure of achieving and the pressure of making something of ourselves can be like the wound, right? Like just feeling a lot of pressure, right? And so it'll be very important for Chiron in Capricorn to find their role in the world, their place in society, their lane in terms of their purpose, and to really do that on purpose. Their purpose will heal them, right? Having and just getting validated or acknowledged for the work that they do put in, or for what they provide, or, you know, for their skill sets will be extremely important. And that really will heal them. And it will also heal the, you know, the wound of having to be the authority, having to take control, having to like be sober, like just be on, or just, you know, to try to like, yeah, take control, because perhaps nobody did that for them, or perhaps, you know, they had toxic relationships with issues and control, so now they want to be the ones to do it. But yeah, it could also just be like projecting, like, I guess, yeah, just that there's always room to do better or be better. And sometimes this could be too, like being too serious, or sometimes this could be an absence of taking our life seriously enough, right? So we want to, what's really going to heal Chiron and Capricorn is having goals and achieving those goals and being satisfied that we celebrate ourselves, right? That we're celebrating life, and that our legacy that we're building is one that's not coming from a wounded place, but one that, you know, we're going to be in training mode. Like to train for something can be just so satisfying for this as well, for this placement as well. And so also relationship with masculine energy, right? Like not burning out so much, right? That we are also able to destroy obstacles in our way, right? That the pressure will, not letting the pressure like eat at us, right? And when we do feel pressure, getting like, I can do this, like I can get the ring on the outside of Saturn, like I can destroy all obstacles in my way. I believe in myself. I believe in my capabilities. I know what I'm capable of, right? That is the healed, evolved version of Chiron, right? So it'll be very important when we set goals to enjoy when we cross that finish line, right? And that we have the authority in our life to make our life happen and not to get triggered into any sort of like victim mode or like trying to control other people, or a victim mode where life circumstances were the reason why XYZ, right? It's or like being triggered, by boundaries, right? And it's like, we can destroy those boundaries, right? Or we can find another way, or let's be practical about this. Let's look at this soberly and let's do this, right? And then we do have, and this also can be like our career too, like finding our career, finding our niche, finding our purpose is going to be very, very, and we could have been training in this area for a long time too. I would not be surprised if Chiron in Capricorn, like what they knew they wanted to do when they were little, ends up being what they end up doing. It just is breaking through the boundaries and the obstacles and knowing that they are the sole authority in their life. And when they're the sole authority in their life, they won't get triggered by authority outside of it, right? Because no matter what, they know that they are the authority in their life. Then we have Chiron in Aquarius, which Chiron in Aquarius, if you have Chiron at the 11th degree or the 23rd degree, if you have Chiron in the 11th house, or you have Chiron aspecting Uranus, then this is your section. So this can be early traumatic experiences, or feeling very exploited, or an absence of all in regards to friendship, right? So we could have felt like pariahed, like we just didn't have a lot of friends, we didn't find our group, we got rejected from groups, whether that was clubs or just sports or like group activities, group projects, friendship circles, right? This can be too very much as well like manifestation. This can be like early experiences where, we could have been told like, you're too separate from society, like as well, like you're pariahed, like you either like you're just like, and it can go either way. It could be like you're just like everybody else, so the wound could be like, I'm different no matter what, like I have to do things differently, I have to rebel, I have to, or I want to, this is how I'm going to react when I'm triggered. I want freedom, I want detachment, I just don't want to be a part of it. So we may actually isolate ourselves and pariah ourselves. But this also can be like doing whatever to fit in, right? To like relate to humanity and to relate to society and to find our role. And part of can be just a sensitive subject for us, right? The ways in which we are different, fitting in, finding our people, right? And also like being able to the thing that is going to heal Chiron in Aquarius is actually leaning into what makes them, whether it is something that a lot of people do or something that like not a lot of people do, and this can be just like the wound of being understood, related to, and finding a connection that relates us to humanity, right? And I think that it's very true. Like, if we are the smartest person in the room, we got to find a different room. I think just like how I talk about water signs, like people can only meet you as deep as they met themselves. That is also mentally, right? Like, if people do not allow themselves to think outside the box, then yeah, they might have their own opinions, right, around like maybe your ideas, or especially if you're a very inventive person or you reinvent yourself. If people don't understand, that is not our job to make them understand. And I think that that's something that sometimes Aquarius can really want to try to prove the point by talking, by showing evidence, by proving how they're going to live their life or something like that. And yeah, it just breaks my heart. Out of all of the sections, like this is the section that I feel like I do want to cry, because that we are social creatures, and I do think that relating to other people is something that brings us a sense of belonging. And we have Chiron in Aquarius, yeah, there could be, I think the very healed, evolved version of Chiron and Aquarius is like understanding humanity and like wanting to connect humanity, like through music, like having people relate to each other, like accepting all walks of life. Like, I think another thing with like Chiron and Aquarius is sometimes Aquarius can be stubborn about like the things that, the boundaries that hold them back, and they can like kind of resent that, right? Or there's like a place in their mind where that is seen as bad, right? Or we need to rebel against that, or we can't have that, right? But at the same time, we're able to destroy those obstacles, and we can like we all are just mirrors of each other at the end of the day, and somebody else could have been triggered by us, right? Like being different. And so it's like not taking that personally and being able to evolve like outside of what people think of us, or outside, and like detaching truly from society's expectations of ourselves or friends and family or our small hometown or our religion or our culture's expectations of us, and 100% being able to evolve and make progress forward by choosing the people and the places and the spaces and the life path that is authentic to us. That is how we are going to heal Chiron in Aquarius. And, we don't have to like stay and prove that we are a certain thing. We are able to change and evolve, even if, we said we would never be this way, or we would never do that, or date that person, or move there, or have a job like that. It's like we're always changing and evolving, and never say never. And I think that that is really, really healing for Aquarius as well. So this can also be like an intelligence wound, right? Where we may just have our own way in which we like to do something, and maybe that is just not a common method. And we could have gotten graded lower because we didn't use the method that people wanted us to use, or, however it may be. This also goes back to accepting the fact that maybe our intelligence, our work, our expression has yet to have a spot available to it. So us, by just giving that option, expressing that expression, of owning that part of ourselves, of taking up space in humanity, in society, in our environment, to showcase the outside of the box thing, that then gives it space. Then that then makes it real. Then that then is invention. That within itself is us in our purpose, right? So I love that. I love that so much. That was a really good one. And then last but not least, we have Chiron in Pisces. So if you have Chiron in Pisces, or Chiron at the 24th degree or the 12th degree, or Chiron in the 12th house, or Chiron aspecting Neptune, then this is going to be your section. So we could have had early experiences in childhood where we may have felt like, I can't disassociate. I can't be the one to like let things, so it could go one of two ways. We may be the ones that disassociate, the ones that oversleep, the ones that overconsume, the ones that try to find pleasure or comfort or fulfillment in order to like be adaptable, in order to go with the flow of life and able to like carry on, basically. Or this could be, we may have had people in our life where like substances and faith and believing and things of that nature could have been something where we don't want that, right? Like we don't want to lose ourselves, we don't want to go too far, like we don't want to lose ourselves in love, we don't want to lose ourselves in a daydream, we don't want to build up our faith and have it disappointed, we don't want to believe in love or believe in second chances or believe in whatever it is that we don't want to believe in this, because we had perhaps like traumatic experiences growing up where because people relied on faith or relied on substances or relied on whatever, we suffered because of it, right? Or this could be also like when we did try to be imaginative, or we did share our sensitivity, when we did really lean into imagination and let our guard down, like that is when bad things happened, right? That is when like a traumatic experience happened. And so I find personally that, when it comes to Chiron in Pisces, Chiron actually really does well in Pisces. I will say that. That is one of the signs that Chiron likes to be in, because it is a jack of all trades, and Pisces is an accumulation of all the 11 signs before it. So it does have this like overarching energy of, I don't really want to just focus on one thing. And I think that is true for healing, that you do one aspect of the healing and then there's another aspect, and then you have one sort of healing gift and then you have another sort of healing gift, right? And the healing gift that Chiron and Pisces has for other people truly is that we can have it all, right? That we can have it all, that, coming back to faith, coming back to within yourself, stillness within your mind will go so far. Stillness within your spirit will go so far that there's also just not, like, if we said, for example, if we grew up with, like, let's just say, like, a very, very strict parent that didn't allow us to go with the flow, or didn't allow us to wander, and just kind of another aspect, there is something good I was going to say too with Chiron in Pisces. Oh, if we had parents that were like fact checking, or, life is this way, things are that way, like, it's very healing for Chiron and Pisces to understand that, like, nothing is definite, right? That, like, things are not so black and white, that things are not so definite, that, like, there's nuance to things, and that it's okay to not know, or it's okay to be in the void. It's okay to introspect and change our mind. It's okay to detach and, like, reattach to things. Like, it's okay for things to not be so clear cut, like square, like fit in a box. And that could be found in creativity, which could be very, very healing for Pisces. That could be found in spiritual exploration, or, opening their mind and perspective to things. It could have been like daydreaming was like no, or like imagination, right? This reminds me kind of, for example, The Sound of Music, where when Maria, The Sound of Music is like a pretty old musical, and there's a nun that takes care of these children after their mother passes away, because their father is very busy and has a very important role in society. And after the mother had passed away, the father had forbidden all the children to sing. And when Maria comes, Maria lives her life as like a living song. Like, she is the epitome of just like a musical woman, and she teaches them how to sing. And that is what that reminds me of, right? Where we're allowed to just be children. We're just allowed to just roam free. We're allowed to like be messy. We're allowed, like, these kids were like live such a Virgo, like Saturn life. And then, there was all this like Venus and like Neptune energy that Maria had. Maria was like very, very free spirited, and was very, very creative, and just knew how to relate to all the different kids and the walks of life. And by us being changeable, by us being adaptive, by us being empathetic, by us, connecting, we can really relate to all different walks of life. And that's our gift. And this can make us extremely powerful healers in terms of energy workers, in terms of, tapping into the unconscious parts of humanity that is suffering, right? Like kids being able to be kids, and women being able to be women, and men being able to be men, and just, and I'm just saying that in the sense that, like, for any role ever, like, magicians are allowed to believe in magic, and writers are free to express, and, it's just like, that the boundaries, and that there's a certain way to do something or a certain way to be, are just meant to be dissolved, right? And that is something that heals Pisces so much. And so believing in fairy tales, healing for Pisces, right? And like also like, yeah, defining your higher perspectives and your higher beliefs. It's okay to, see like where you don't resonate with something or where you don't believe in something, right? But things are not so definite either that we could change our mind. That, yeah, it just depends how you look at it and how you relate to it. And yeah, I think that is what I have also for Chiron in Pisces. So, that is, I would say, the last thing with Chiron and Pisces. One last thing, that it would be amazing to never give up on what you picture for yourself, right? Whether that's like a relationship or a job or a purpose or whatever it is, that is very, very possible. And that is like, we can create miracles in our life. Absolutely. 100%. Yeah, so that is everything that I do have for you guys and Chiron. And my throat is all tapped out. So I am just going to now do a card for each sign, and then we'll wrap up. I'm very, very happy though with this video. I am so happy that I decided to do this video, and a lot of you guys requested it. So it's a labor of love because I love you guys so much. So let's go ahead and leave each sign with a card of something that is going to relate to healing their Chiron, especially something you need to hear at this time. So Aries Chiron, your card is the in-between, Hecate. Just going to leave that there for you. Taurus Chiron, you have Metis with wisdom. So this is your guidance or something that's going to help with you healing, as well as you, Chiron and Aries, the sitting in the in-between. It's going to be something that helps with healing. And then also wisdom. So learning, reflecting on our wisdom thus far, right? Going to be Chiron in Taurus. Then we have Chiron in Gemini with Rhea with flow. So letting the thoughts flow, letting your expression flow, letting things just flow within you and around you. Being adaptable, right? And then we have for Cancer, Chiron in Cancer, we have, I think I'm going to butcher her name. It's either Caridwin or Saridwin with potential, right? So Cancer, the potential of connecting, the potential of being vulnerable, right? And then Chiron in Leo, we have Gaia with Earth, right? So this is very much, to me, she's pregnant, right? And Leo's the child that when we came to Earth, we were deserving. And then we have Chiron in Virgo with Demeter, the nurturer. Love this. Virgo is like so connected to like Demeter's archetype. So Demeter, the nurturer, this is, to me, like nurturing your mind, right? Nurturing ourselves, watering ourselves, making sure we're well so we can listen to our intuition, right? Is that so we could better show up in our own lives every day and for the people we love. And then Chiron in Scorpio, I have Saraswati with mastery. So yeah, being able to master, I think, just like going after what we want unapologetically, and knowing that we can destroy all obstacles in our way, and that we're so powerful. And Scorpio is just a big sign of self-mastery and like transmuting, because like she's like transmuting energy, it looks like there too, if you can see like in her hands. And then we have Chiron in Sagittarius with Mary, which is miracles, right? And that's like believing in miracles, like believing in what you believe and staying true to yourself. can bring just miracles into our life. We're not living for other people. This is our journey. This is our journey, and miracles can happen. Then we have Chiron in Capricorn with Iris, and this is communication, right? I actually think that this, with communication, with Chiron in Capricorn, can be talking about when we get acknowledged for like the role that we had, and when we also, like, when we communicate, we like push others up, like we are there to see like other people's success, and like to help other people understand that they are doing a great job, that like, kind of being the support for other people is what I get from that. And then the better like communication that we tell ourselves too, of like having a voice that is nice, that pushes us, that like sees us, that witnesses us, that tells us that we're doing a great job, is going to be really important. And then Chiron in Aquarius. Then we have, I think this is Ane with adaptability, right? Which is all about the evolution. That's how we evolve. We become adaptable, and we don't let the limitations of society, I should say, define us or stop us. And then last but not least, with Chiron in Pisces, we have Lakshmi, and this says fortune. So yeah, this is another one that I really think too, like good fortune in general, like our fortune in life, I think comes from what we believe in and the stories that we follow and that we subscribe to. And I think that subscribing to our story and believing in general, and having faith, and also things not being so definite, right, that there's like room to like co-create with like our higher self, or like, something bigger than us, that our fortune's in our hands, not anybody else. Things are not so black and white, or like just because that's someone else's experience doesn't mean that that's our experience. That this is our freedom to believe, to love, to find purpose in whatever way that our journey will, whatever way we want along our journey. And then I think that fortune finds us that way. So that is officially everything that I do have for you guys. Thank you guys so much. If you guys made it to this part of the video, I'd be curious if you guys want to comment any sort of heart emoji. You're a real one, and I'm definitely gonna comment a heart back. Please take it easy. Please take care, and I will see you guys in a later video. Bye.